Officer down! I repeat, officer down!
Welcome back to 1033. This is your host, Nathan Kapler, a podcast created for a first responder by a first responder. If you are not a first responder, you still are welcome. This podcast is aimed directly at trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is complex and often misunderstood. Our brave men and women who serve our communities often end up with behavioral and psychological issues as a result of experienced trauma from their careers. My goal is to share what I know, my personal experience with PTSD as a retired police officer, and continue to advocate for mental health while providing support to those still in their careers. This podcast is not a substitute for professional medical help, and I strongly suggest if you are in fact suffering, you seek out professional medical advice. Please join me on this episode as I continue to expose the reality of PTSD challenges. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Welcome back to 1033. Today I have a very special guest with us, Adam Haidary. He comes to us from the States. He is a former police officer. He has over 7 years of experience, is a very young man at the age of 33. He's a father, he's a husband, he has 2 kids, and he is completely geared towards making sure our law enforcement and first responders stay not only healthy, but trained. Adam, it is a complete pleasure to have you on my podcast today. How are you?
I'm good, man. I really appreciate the invite. Truly. Thank you.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were connected about how I came across you and what you were doing. I happened to be working out one day and my phone just lit up with this product called Effective Fitness. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, right? It was kind of like really well done, very professional, had some pictures of police officers. And at first, when I first looked at it, I was like, I don't think there's actually anything up here in Canada that's geared towards making sure that our cops, our first responders, not only are physically active and they have goals to set for themselves, but they also have the training behind them. So the first time I saw this, I knew I had to reach out. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for answering that call. Before we dive into kind of who you are, our listeners up here, I know definitely will benefit from the product that you have. So I'm super excited to help support you in what you're doing. And not only that, but make sure that you're going to see some growth north of the border, because us Canadians, we're a friendly bunch and we like to help out our fellow Americans,
Absolutely.
Contrary to belief.
Absolutely. Same. Huge fan of Canada.
So Adam, you know a bit about me. My viewers are going to want to know who you are. Who are you?
Sure. 33 years old, husband, dad, first and foremost. I have about 7 years in law enforcement here in South Carolina. Worked for a state law enforcement agency here. I spent about 5 years on patrol and then was quickly, I say promoted, but demoted to sergeant, to training sergeant. And that's where kind of my roles and responsibilities have changed into how can I better the officers that were working with me, whether it be training or equipment or just even resources in general. So again, I did that, had a lot of fun, had obviously the ups and downs of the job. And about 2020, I realized I had a couple of reasons why I left the profession. It was for the better, for me personally. And that's kind of what drove Effective Fitness to kind of grow to where it is now. Reasons why I left law enforcement. I get asked all the time, why did I leave? Mostly is because there was a command staff change, that command staff was progressive, and then it became not as progressive as it pertains to like trying to better officers, whether it be for training or equipment and stuff like that. And then from there, obviously I had the birth of my first child, and Effective Fitness was growing, and my mission was always to make cops better, in whatever capacity that could be. And so I had a company that was growing, that needed more attention. I was working about 18 hours a day, for about 8 months straight. And I realized that I was running myself ragged and I wasn't helping anybody by doing that. So fast forward and kind of here we are today. We've helped over 20,000 cops on effective fitness. Overall, we've donated over $1 million in training to agencies, and we're pushing forward to becoming the standard for law enforcement, health and wellness, not only fitness, but health and wellness, fitness, and in combatives as well.
You are on a beautiful mission. We've connected much in this space over some of the challenges that come from policing. They're very real. The mental health impact from policing is very real. When I first connected to you, I was very kind of impressed by the fact that not only did you get in as a young man, much like myself, but you got out with 7 years of experience. And I was very curious as to kind of why you got out. Now, for my listeners up here, we like to talk a little bit about trauma at times. To kind of truly understand kind of the depth of the challenges behind the job. Do you want to talk about real quick, just kind of some of those challenges that you may have had in the position? Because I do think they probably were a bit of a catalyst to helping you push yourself forward out of that space now, especially as a father, and really allowing yourself to grow, possibly even heal.
Yeah. As it relates to actual trauma, seeing trauma, I was very good, so I thought, of that on-off switch everybody talks about. Like when you're at work, you turn it on. When you're not at work, you shut it off, and you can have feelings again or whatever. I still have issues. Sometimes if you ask my close friends, that switch sometimes has a short, still, even to this day. And it's probably because it's just, I was at 23 years old, 23 years of life, there's probably about 5 years of that you actually probably gain life experience from, I would say, as an adult. And so I didn't have much at 23 years old. So, you're thrown in this profession, you're given a badge and gun, and your job is to uphold the Constitution and protect the citizens of your jurisdiction or of the country or of the world, really, for that matter. It's kind of how I view it. Things that I've seen, things that I've done, I can rest my head on a pillow at night, and say that I did a good job. But also, there are things that you can't ever unsee. And that's okay. So, as it really pertains to did it cause me to leave, or did it have any influence in me leaving? I wouldn't say no. I would say, believe it or not, more of the trauma came from the frustration of trying to better law enforcement officers and having people not allowing you to do that, whether it's giving cops resources, whether it's even just mental health resources or gear resources or training resources, not giving them the ability to better themselves really in any way, shape, or form. That's very frustrating. It's almost to the point where it's like you're beating your head against a brick wall, and the brick wall is just a brick wall, and your head's just fucking eventually going to bust open. So it was just super frustrating there, and that kind of led to the I think I can make a bigger difference outside of the badge, and that's kind of where this led to.
The realities of policing are, and I completely agree with this, you're going to experience trauma. You're going to go through some very difficult situations. The training that you have, for the most part, is hopefully going to keep you healthy and well and being able to respond and make sure everybody's alive at the end of each call. But the reality, too, of being a police officer, and you nailed this, we have to play in the borders of the sandbox. And sometimes those borders change on us. And much like you went through with the change of command, your sandbox in its essence basically shrunk. And you now feel like you continue to receive a lot less support in your position. So the trauma is there, and then the lack of support is there, and the organizational issues are there. And you have this, individual like yourself, Adam, very caring, very compassionate, wanting to see the best for law enforcement. And you're handicapped, or there's a glass ceiling put above you. Very, very interesting how you then took this as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only way.
Absolutely. And that's something too, like for my people, my tribe up here that we talk to and we connect to, you're allowed to go through pain in life. You're allowed to see the challenges, but you also have to focus on the growth. So I'm happy you took this opportunity now to push yourself into this next chapter. Do you want to talk about effective fitness and kind of how it began to grow, or at least begin?
Yeah. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version because it's probably like it's a 2.5-year-old business. So, so basically, I was tasked with creating some type of fitness program for my agency, in which I dove into research and data as it pertains to the profession, right? So workers' comp claims, certain incidents, use of force claims, things like that, or use of force data, and was able to kind of calculate, like, okay, where are we seeing the issues in, joints, recovery, what about load carriage and stress and accuracy and stress? And how can we create a product that's actually usable for cops? So I kind of had an outline, and I used that data to really drive the direction of that. Because there's a lot of fitness programs out there. Fitness, we obviously didn't invent fitness by any means. The cavemen did, right? But we wanted to make an approach that made sense. So I reached out to my buddy Eve. Eve is he's one of my best friends. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He currently runs he has a couple businesses, but he currently runs basically a mastermind group for other physical therapists. That's kind of his main job. And kind of for me, he's kind of more of that mentor, high level strategy kind of guy. So I got with him and I was like, hey man, I got this idea. I just want to run it by you. We were eating burgers at a bar, literally. And, he was all like, dude, this is it. I was like, what do you mean this is it? He goes, we need to do this. Like, meet me in my office tomorrow at 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, well, I have to work. He's like, you need to call in because this needs to happen. So we freaking took off. And then, from there it was tough because I was a full-time cop. And I was still working. I was not married at the time. And, man, like it started growing. Cause I already had police posts, which is kind of the larger page. So I had an audience that I had kind of built that rapport with and that kind of trust with. And so that kind of helped kind of develop. Well, it kept growing and growing. And then all of a sudden it just kind of like, I couldn't do any more cause there wasn't enough time in the day. So then that's when I kind of pushed me to that decision of, okay, I'm tired. I'm not getting support at work. I want to continue this mission. It's seeming to change lives because I was getting DMs and messages from people like, hey man, like your program helped me in this foot pursuit. I was able to drag this person out of this. And, I applied this tourniquet under pressure, like just all these crazy messages that I was like, man, this is awesome. So again, fast forward, about 12 months, about 2021. And we have 3 full-time individuals that work. We have about, I think, 7 active law enforcement officers that work with EFT to kind of bring that real-world experience in from all different disciplines, all different parts of the country. I'm talking California, Florida, New York, here in South Carolina. They're all over. And these guys are cream of the crop. Combined experience, over 100 years of combined law enforcement experience on our team. With these dudes they're all more badass than I'll ever be, for sure. Just to put it into perspective, I'm the only guy that was never on SWAT. Everybody else that works for Physical is just a cool guy with, the hair gel and all the cool gear. And again, we kind of took an approach that we wanted to be different. Well, how can we be different and still have change? Well, we wanted to really incorporate the science side of fitness, not just be all flashy, but like what gets the job done. And so we kind of came up with this minimal effective dose approach to law enforcement fitness, where how much can you do? What's the smallest amount of effort you can put in to achieve forward growth or progress? And that's our approach to it. Because obviously in the profession, if you've been in the profession long enough, you know that time is very valuable. You don't have much of it. If you do, it's probably going to be either super early in the morning or super late at night. And your job is to it's a physical job, so you have to train it. And our job is to also train other disciplines within the profession, not just fitness. So we're working on medical skills, mental capacity drills, dry fire, working on combatives. We're working on just overall resiliency so that when you do retire, the job didn't destroy you. Because one of my favorite phrases that I say is the biggest threat to law enforcement is law enforcement itself. And if you've been in the profession long enough, you know exactly what that means. So, we are very proud of the work we do. And we are a mission driven company, and our mission is just getting started. So we're super excited for the future.
Talking about a perspective of personal growth, there was definitely probably a moment in your journey where, as a police officer, you now know that there's a glass ceiling with your ability to offer training for police officers and look after your brothers in this, we'll call it a broken system.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can both agree that it's a broken system, right? 100%. Law enforcement's biggest issue is law enforcement. We completely agree there. I totally believe in that too. Now, do you want to talk about the fear of having to leave your profession? And I bring this up because a lot of times for a lot of law enforcement individuals, and you need to be really engaged on when your expiry date is with law enforcement.
Yes.
A lot of people hold this belief that they're going to make it 20, 30 years, when in reality, they hit a point probably right around that 7 to 14 year mark where they might be cooked from certain traumas, stress, different things, and they somehow push beyond that, which may actually not be healthy for you. You now embrace this different ideology of let's embrace fear. And let's use this to leave this opportunity, the golden handcuffs, so to speak, and completely shift out into a new world where there was no stability, immense uncertainty. Do you want to talk about that, what that was like for you?
Very scary. I had a 4-month-old kid, and I will never forget. I actually have it recorded on my phone because I was trying to film content for Effective Fitness. December 23rd, I was out in my driveway bench pressing, and it wasn't very much weight. I think I was just warming up. It was all like 150s, 180s, something like that, pounds. And I wish it was kilograms. I just remember it kind of hit me like a freaking ton of bricks. This profession, a lot of people, this is their identity. It is who they are. That badge, I'm looking at my badge on my shelf right now. That badge meant a lot to me the day that I got it and the day that I wasn't able to wear it anymore legally. It still does. People ask me all the time, like, were you scared? Yeah, I was scared because I was leaving a stable job that had, retirement, that had protection, that job security, to basically try to start something that was a dream, really, and then just an idea. And I took a massive pay cut with a brand new kid, a massive pay cut. And that was very scary, but I contribute a lot of my success to my dad, who came to this country with a fucking briefcase at 18 years old and created a multi-million-dollar business out of the back of his freaking car, and taught me the value of a dollar, basically. I was not spoiled. People think, oh, your dad's, he had $1 million company. That doesn't mean you're a millionaire by any means. Taxes and things cost a lot of money. So, he always took care of me and showed me how to critically think. And I knew with the skills he had instilled in me at my late 20s that, if I did fail, I could go work at Costco and, work the door there, greeting people, checking receipts. But yes, very, very scary. But I had support, and I just had drive, man. I saw that I'm so mission driven. It wasn't even about the money, because I obviously took a huge pay cut. It wasn't about money for me. I was like, you can make more money. You can do anything to make money. I was just like, I just want to drive. But it was very scary to hang up the badge. For probably the first 3 months, I felt like I was missing a part of myself. Like I would see lights and sirens fly down the road, and I'd be like, where the fuck are they going? You know what I mean? And then I would be like, well, I don't have a radio. I don't have anything. I'm just going to go to the grocery store like I planned, my best analogy that I've used is, I miss the clowns. I don't miss the circus. So, there are some phenomenal men and women that I've worked with that still wear the badge that I know, and I support them 100%. That's what I try to do now is I try to support them more than I can ever now. And the fact that I have the ability to actually impact change is kind of what took that fear away once I was able to realize I could do that.
You have an incredibly inspiring story, Adam. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to listen to this and not only see the value of the product that you offer, but the human behind this, the process that you had to go through, the trust that you had to have for yourself. And you're right, it's a very isolating experience when you finally leave the brotherhood or the sisterhood, law enforcement community. There's almost like a death or like this loss or like a grievance process you go through where you shut down the identity and you try to find peace and move on and continue to support them from the outside. So I'm actually incredibly proud of you for being able to continue to nudge yourself along in that process and have the self-worth and the trust behind you to stay the course because you're now here. Now, when you first started out this platform, what did it look like and how was it growing? So it looked like this is like post-retirement. So now that you're officially retired as a police officer and Effective Fitness is now up and running, what did it look like then and how did it grow from that point on?
Yeah. So it just started out as an idea. And then, post-retirement, we hit the ground running. I had a 4-month-old to feed, which luckily I'm pretty financially savvy. Like I'm pretty good with money. So I knew this was probably going to happen. So I kind of saved a little war chest, for myself, a little cushion, which is also another fear of law enforcement officers is they don't know how to financially, have that kind of stability. I luckily I asked a lot of questions. So again, we hit the ground running. We started bringing in more people. There's a book out there that I didn't read, but Dane, who's also, he's one of my really good friends, but he's also one of the co-owners of Effective Fitness as well. It's called Who Not How, right? The who can you bring in to do it? Not like, how can I do it? Cause I'm not an expert in everything. And that's one thing I had to realize was you don't know how to do. There's so much about business that I didn't know. I wasn't a business guy. My dad's an entrepreneur. My brother's an entrepreneur. Everybody on my dad's side of the family is basically an entrepreneur. And I obviously didn't know. We had very limited funds. We're still very careful with our money, but we started kind of bringing in just the right people. That's when I realized that my experience as a law enforcement officer was obviously going to expire at some point. Which I would say I'm relevant as it kind of pertains to certain aspects of the profession for probably another year. And then after that, my relevancy will probably just kind of go away. And I think a lot of people forget that, you're not as sharp as you were, 3 years ago. Hence why we have 7 active guys on the team. They keep us very relevant. They work in high tempo, high call volume areas. So now that we're growing, we wanted to add more. First, it was just fitness, right? It was just an app. I said, cops need more. What do they need? They need nutrition. Okay, Adam, chill. Cause I'm a visionary by nature, right? That's my skill set. I'm not an integrator. I'm a visionary. So I needed an integrator. So we had an integrator. Dane and Eve basically are kind of like the PT side, the back end side of the business. And they were able to find the who's to kind of help make that happen. So I was like, okay, well, we need a nutritionist. We need another coach because now we need somebody to do this work. So then we hired Kelly. So Kelly's our head strength conditioning coach at Effective Fitness. She's also helps us with the social media. So then, we need more. Cops just need fitness and nutrition. That's great. They need more. What are the pain points? What are they struggling with? Well, the data shows that shoulders, knees, and lower back, those 3 areas, if you're a cop for any period of time, one of those areas was injured or has gotten hurt or was really sore. Why? Well, the profession it's very stagnant and then it's not, right? So we need to make those joints strong. It's like, okay, we have 3 physical therapists on staff. Let's write rehab programs for those 3 areas. Okay, cool. Now we have rehab programs. What else do we need? Well, some people don't have equipment. Okay, we need a body weight program. We just kept going on and on and on. And then obviously when COVID hit, Gym shut down. And I was all like, all right, what are we going to do? We had to do something. Okay. Body weight program. So we did a free body weight program for 5 weeks. Anybody could sign up for 100% free. We had 5,000 people sign up in less than a day. And it was, I had reached out to all my contacts that had also large pays. Said, hey guys, look, I'll be very clear. I'm not making any money off of this. I want a free fitness program out there for people because again, you isolate people. They can't go outside. They can't talk to other people. Your mental health is going to go to absolute shit in a fucking handbag real quick. Right. So, all right, let's get these guys going. Let's get them a program they can follow where they can actually also interact on the app. They can have human interaction on the app. And kind of go from there. It was great. And then from there, that obviously gained traction. Wasn't the purpose, but it kind of helped gain traction there. And then we started kind of going more and more. And then I was like, hey, I want to develop an agency program. I mean, bro, we were just going 100 miles an hour in all different directions. Okay, that going. And then it was like, let's give away $1 million in training. Okay, we did that. Like, it was insane. And now it's like, we're doing a combatives program. Like we're going to be launching a combatives program, like for subject control tactics, vehicle extractions, things like that. Like that's our next step. And that's probably where we're going to probably lie in. We're not going to go into the firearms side. There's so many companies out there that do such a phenomenal job at that. We're going to just stay in our lane here and really fine tune what we're doing. And that's why I feel like we're different because nobody really had ventured off in this direction. And I've had mentors. It's not like I just like, oh, this is a great idea. Guys like Will Petty from Centrifuge Trading, who has a pretty heavy presence in Canada as well. Dennis from Street Cop Training. These guys are very, very successful, not only successful businesses, but just successful individuals in life in general. So, I try to follow them and I, had a lot of conversations with them and we like to kind of cross-pollinate there sometimes. So, again, that's kind of where we're at now, man. And we're just kind of growing as fast as we can and as smart as we can.
Again, applaud you for seizing opportunities as they popped up, and not from the standpoint of money, but making sure that your business was there to support law enforcement individuals, first responders, always. Even, right?
Always.
COVID hit. What do we do? How do we shift so that we help others, right? Especially with their mental health, which is huge in our world. The moment we start isolating, things get much worse for us. So again, this is the business that you have is going to continue to do phenomenally well because it's not based on the money. It's based on the purpose and the people behind it and supporting those individuals. So cool to connect with you in this space. And I'm so glad that I can sit here and have this conversation with you because it's exactly what police officers need. Someone to just be there for them, to support them.
Yeah. It's just, there's so many scam artists out there too. I mean, I've been scammed. This is a very emotional profession and some people use that to leverage financial gain. So that's not us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all know how cops have trust issues to begin with, right? And when they get burned, man, oh man, can things even get worse for them, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm glad that you're giving this product the compassion that it needs to serve those people that are in those roles, right? And so proud of you for being able to leave policing and build something so incredibly larger than you would have ever been able to do while you were serving.
Oh, it would have been impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the support that you received moving forward to build all of this, you have the team in place. You definitely have some efficiencies now. Like I even noticed when I was trying to get a hold of you, you have a solid team behind you. So can you give us a few teasers as to where Effective Fitness wants to go as a business and the things that they can continue to offer law enforcement individuals?
Sure. Yeah. We're always developing new programs. Specific to certain disciplines within the profession, right? So like mobility programs as it pertains to movement in or around a vehicle, right? We know that we're going to follow the data, right? We know that the data shows that 68% of law enforcement engagements here in the States occur in or around vehicles. So we need to be training around vehicles. Our body needs to be prepared around vehicles, right? We know that the majority of incidences occur in low light or no light situations. We need to be prepared to be cognizant of our ability in the dark. We need to be cognizant of our gear and the shifts and the physical stress that it puts us. So we have a lot more stuff coming. We also have some virtual reality data tracking that's also in the near future. We'll be releasing here soon, which is super cool because the issue with some of the agencies that we're seeing is that a lot of denial. That's not us. Well, if we can put your guys in situations and show you a certain percentage of your agency is doing X, then it is your agency, and you have to address the issue, which we already know exists. It's just how do we prove it, and now we're proving it. And so that's probably going to be launching here in the next probably the next 6 or 8 months. Super excited to do that. And then obviously the combatives. We're launching a whole combative side. We're going to be also doing workshops, so in-person workshops and online courses. So if you're in the middle of, bumfuck nowhere, you have no access to a school or a gym. If you have a buddy that wants to train above the standard, then, you guys have access to us, and it's all going to be extremely affordable. Our support is 100%. If you guys have any questions, we check all the DMs on Effective Fitness. We check every email. We take every email very seriously. And we are going to be doing another $1 million giveaway this year, in the process of kind of working that probably next quarter. So, and it is open to Canadian agencies as well. I think the only issue would be probably the kind of like the legality side. But besides that, that's kind of where we're going, man, is we're coming for, the standard. We are trying to be the new standard in law enforcement, fitness and health and wellness, because if we can train our guys above the standard, we're going to see a much better community, a much better world in general. You're going to see much better people, because that's what we're trying to focus on. We're trying to fix a profession, but you got to fix people to fix the profession. So we're trying to show people that there's options to become better, and it doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars to do that, to be aware of self-care. Oh, real quick. One thing that we do offer, which I didn't mention, is we have support and access to our coaches. So when you join Effective Fitness and you have a question, whether it's about fitness, injury, nutrition, scheduling, you can ask that, and a person who is qualified to answer that question is going to respond to you. And we had a guy yesterday. He had a knee injury. He's a K-9 sergeant up in California, or I guess across in California. And he was on the phone with one of our PTs for 15 minutes trying to diagnose and see what we could do to help modify his programming to make him better. And that's just a part of what that's nothing special. There's no special package he has. That's what we offer. In-person communication to get you the results you want.
Yeah, so impressive. And that's exactly what needs to happen in the law enforcement world, right? People are out literally doing their job, and you need to be able to be there for them in that moment. So now, I want to go back to the money that you're generating and giving back to the community, because that's incredibly important for sure. One. But the success, how are you measuring your success with what you're doing?
So a lot of it is, and this is me learning, right? I've never started business before. It's my first business I've ever started. And from what I understand, I'm very lucky for it to be growing the way it is. Even my dad told me that. He's like, son, I've had like 6. But obviously we have metrics. We have like the analytics to show number growth. How I feel like we're growing is when people reach out to us. It's not even rare to get, and this is why it's so amazing. Like, we get emails and even videos from people that are like, hey, I saved a woman out of a house that was collapsing down a mudslide. And I'm like, like, why are you telling me this? I just did a podcast with Matt Donahue. He was an officer that was shot in the line of duty in Massachusetts. And he was obviously one of our members. He reached out to say, hey, how can I modify my program? I can't use my right arm right now because I took a bullet to the bicep. I'm like, humans are incredible creatures. Yeah, like you have someone who took a round in the bicep, bullet exited his back over there by his scapula, and he's messaging us going, "How can I still train?" Like, I was like, Matt, you got to come on the podcast, man. Like, you got to tell your story. And now I talked to his chief. We're trying to donate our program to their agency for free, like 100% free, because I'm like, this is what we want. We want this to be contagious. We want this attitude, Matt. Like when we first talk, because I always ask this. I do have a mental health post that I do post from time to time, and I just say, "You good," right? That's it. You good. And then I say, ask them again. And if they don't answer, then you go to their house. Like when you say you good, I'm all right, I'm okay. Like we all say that. I say I'm okay all the time, right? Like again, it goes deeper than just fitness and 6-pack abs and big biceps and how much weight can you deadlift. Nobody, at the end of the day, that's great and it does help, but we got to look after each other. We got to make sure that we're doing the right thing in the right way. So yeah.
The community you're building behind this too. I don't know if you're seeing this. Your community members, I'm sure, are starting to engage even with themselves, because you talked about how there's a component of the actual app and the platform or the product for people to connect in this community. Do you want to talk about that real quick and what you're seeing is happening there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's almost to the point now where they're answering each other's questions, and that's kind of, they may have a question for us and somebody else go, well, hey, no, they also have this program too. Or, hey man, like if somebody posts a video of their deadlift, people will comment, hell yeah, man, great work. Pick that shit up. Like, man, hey, and it's just so great to see people improving themselves. And man, social media is a blessing and a curse, right? There's so much shit out there, so much trash and garbage. But there's also like people encouraging random strangers. Hey man, fucking proud of you picking that shit up, dude. Like, I know you've been working hard at that. Like the grind to gain 10 pounds on a max deadlift can take months of diet, fine tuning, recovery, mental sharpness. Like to gain 10 pounds for people that know is like, it's incredible. And to have that fulfillment of like people I don't even know that are in a similar profession, like get it. And man, it's so fulfilling for us. Like just to kind of see that, and that community is everything. And that's why, Police Post and, kind of Effective Fitness is we're all about that, man. 100%. Because that's all we have. What else do we have if we don't have a community? You have nothing.
I couldn't agree more. That community is definitely the most important thing that you're building. This success too, like we talked a bit about this in the past of how many people you have actually impacted with this.
Yeah. So since we've been in business for about 2 years, over 20,000 people that have signed up for the program. We've donated to about 6,000 law enforcement officers with the agencies, so about $1 million in kind of in trained agencies. And then we're actually doing something now with Deliver Fund, which is an organization. Not sure if you're familiar with Deliver Fund, but they're an organization that provides target packages and intel for law enforcement agencies all over the world to help disrupt and destroy human trafficking. And it's something we take very seriously here. So we've kind of really teamed up to obviously give back to agencies, but also give back to an organization that does the Lord's work, as we say.
Your perspective too, as a husband, a father, a man, over time, especially given some of the things you saw, and you talked a little bit about some of the harder calls you've seen involving younger, more vulnerable people. Human trafficking, for one, we don't hear about it a lot in Canada. We know it most likely happens. In the States, I'm guessing it's happening to a much different level. It's shocking to hold awareness into the fact that this is still actively going on daily. So you mean to tell me that you not only are providing a platform to help police officers, but also support the elimination of human trafficking?
Yes, we are working with Deliver Fund to actually hold on one second. I'll show you. We're actually going to be selling these shirts. We're going to be selling apparel basically. So these shirts here, which is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a picture of a reaper and a skeleton. It's not that we're saying go and start choking people out by any means, but it's just kind of a kind of representation of your time is coming if you're doing bad things. And you'll be brought to justice. And so, yes, human trafficking is very much prevalent. The grooming stage is in front of everybody's eyes, and they just don't see it because they're just not educated to it. But it is it's almost as financially rich as the drug trade. Human trafficking is very scary, and it's very prevalent here in the States, especially having two young boys, and having a lot of friends that work on certain task force and certain alphabet agencies. It's real. The threat's real. And if it's just not discussed. And we can have our own reasons as to why we feel like it's not being discussed, but it's something that we take very seriously, and so we are proud to support the elimination of.
I cannot commend you more for this. I didn't even know that there was this component that you were looking at eliminating human trafficking, or at least raising awareness and funding and support to definitely impact it. And you're absolutely right in the sense of, when you become a police officer as a young man, you understand that there are a lot of things in the world that need to be corrected, and that you're fighting these, you're trying to change the world. But now once you become a father and you have your own children, and now you are a police officer, you see these things and the true impact for what happens behind those scenes. And I mean, my heart breaks just hearing that human trafficking to this day continues. We see it in the news every once in a while. And I cannot believe myself that we're still allowing this to happen, and it still is met with such an amount of silence that's almost disgusting too in the same breath, right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely disgusting, and it's absolutely it's just so frustrating, because with all the technology we have, the technology our government possesses, and their ability to disrupt certain areas can be done. That's the thing, is it can be done. There could be resources allocated for this to happen, but for some reason it's a priority, but not enough. I mean, the fact that this one organization is able to provide intelligence to law enforcement agencies better than our own government really speaks volumes, because the Liver Fund is made up of former CIA, DHS, FBI, and all those kind of fun alphabets. But it's just something we're kind of proud to do. It's not something that we really, it's not our main business, obviously, but it is a passion. And obviously being a dad, you being a dad as well, someone touches your kid, you can imagine the things that go through your mind. And so, there's nothing more disgusting in the world. So, if we can help, if we can put a drop in that bucket to make it better, bombs away with the drops. Here we go.
It's the right approach. And even after leaving law enforcement, I will always love law enforcement individuals who continue to try and drive this train forward, even though they're retired. And like you are a success story in your own way, because you've left policing and you actually have more of a power behind you now, a larger drum, so to speak, that you're banging now. And this is all just taking off. Now you are predominantly based in the States, correct? Correct.
I mean, we have effective fitness numbers everywhere. You know what? I'll tell you offline how many Canadian cops we have on the program, because it's like, I think it's a couple hundred. Believe it or not, but we're all over the world. One of the biggest things that's really helped me, and this has just been here recently to kind of help get, just kind of, you talk about that bigger drum, right? Obviously Instagram, is subject to allowing certain content to be exposed, right? Like if you're really pro anything good, it seems like, you kind of get somewhat kind of suppressed, but Joe Rogan has really helped me in that sense. He's given me a a couple shout outs on his podcast, which have really helped, beat that drum, because I was suppressed there for a while, and he gave me a shout out recently on a podcast with it was a civil rights activist he was interviewing, and he did talk about Police Post, which I sent him a message, and he actually, Joe and I have had some conversations, and he's 100% supporter of the police. So if anybody listening to this isn't sure about Joe Rogan, he 100% thinks that cops are necessary, that good cops are necessary. He 100% supports what we do, and he's very grateful for the work that the good cops in the world put in. So I just kind of want to be clear, that's coming from Joe's mouth. He's an absolute guy, and he's definitely he's the biggest platform in the world. So for him to have, for me to have his support, I can't tell you what that means. It's huge. So when we get that bigger drum, we're all in this together. And I'm very grateful. Again, Joe Rogan has 11 million downloads an episode. You and I we're drops in the bucket, but again, we're all beating the same. It's the same frequency. It's the same drum. And that's really what matters. The more people we can get, the better.
Well, and let's be honest too, with the fact of where you stand now, even with effective fitness, and even with myself, where I am in my space, right? Talking about my journey through policing, trauma, everything. You don't get to a place where you're at, where Joe Rogan is, just like that. You have to be a drop in a bucket for a while. You have to find your passion behind whatever you're doing, and it has to align with your own morals, your own core, your own being, because if you're going to do something and you're going to do it well, you've got to have that longevity piece to you. And this is something I see for you so wholeheartedly, that you are going to continue to be in this space for years to come. And those 20,000 police officers that you've helped right now, and the human trafficking angles that you're impacting right now, are only going to continue to grow. And I know you and I connected too, even about some of the more quiet things you need to hold close to your heart for now, about where the company's going. But folks, you have to watch Adam and what he's doing with this program. It is doing so much, not only for police officers, but helping shift the world back into a healthier place. And this is what we need. We really do.
There's so many great people out there doing great things. I mean, guys like yourself, people ask me all the time, how did you grow Police Post? Right. I just did something that I felt like I should do. I followed my gut. I didn't do anything. I wasn't hit by lightning. I have no special treatment. I didn't even know this. I didn't even know Joe Rogan followed me. Somebody told me that. Like I had no idea. I just wanted to be different, and I wanted to provide us resource. And that's it. Like I saw the frustration that I had, and I'm like, I know I'm not the only one that's frustrated. I know I'm not the only one. And I'm not. There's millions of people. And so if we can do something that's good, again, when you leave this planet, what do you have? It's what you leave behind, right? I don't want a legacy. I don't want people. I mean, hell, Nate, for the first 7 years that I ran Police Post, I never even showed my face. I put an emoji over my face. Because it was never about me. People now, I mean, I show my face now because I'm not in law enforcement, but when I was in, I never showed my face, never showed my name, who I worked for, none of that shit. I still keep my personal life pretty private, as private as I can. But yeah, man, it was never about me. I don't want spotlights. I want my mission to have a spotlight. And so I think people realize that we don't necessarily have a face. I have guys that work for Effective Fitness that are on the team that have, again, way more experience than I would have, and guys that I learned from. So it's not just me. And I really preach that Effective Fitness isn't Adam. I always do it the idea. I found the who to help me make it come true. And these guys have the same mission, the same drive. And because if it was just me going forward, great. But imagine 8 people with the same drive moving forward at the same time. You're going to get a lot more ground covered. So, that's our mission. And, I do appreciate all the kind words and support. I just, it's good to hear that, man. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right. Or at least going in the right direction.
You absolutely are. And one of the things I learned too, even from my own journey of being completely broken from policing, was it's okay to break.
Oh yeah.
In policing, like it's entirely okay to break, but you eventually have to pick yourself up. You have to dust yourself off, and you have to reconnect with people and show them the compassion that they deserve. And you, like, I know as soon as I saw what you were doing, I was like, this guy's onto something very, very special. We need to help support this man so that he can bang that drum even louder. Because when you now have a bunch of people standing behind you in what you're doing and supporting you, just being there just to support you, you again continue to affect so much change. I can't wait to watch you over the coming years.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot, truly. I get asked all the time because after the Joe Rogan shout out, I had people reaching out going, how can I support you? And to be honest with you, I didn't even know how to answer that. I never wanted handouts. I don't want donations. I said, if you're going to donate money, go to deliverfund.org and donate $20 to help support Intel gathering. I don't want your money. If you want to sign up for Effective Fitness and use our products, then please do so. Absolutely. That's what we're here for. We did have one guy, he wanted to donate a very large sum of money for free memberships to law enforcement officers. And I told him, I said, okay, that would buy X amount of spots. He's like, okay. I said, how about this? How about you take that money, donate it to like a 501c3, and I'll just donate those spots on the house. Cause like, okay, so now like the fact that someone was doing that, just going to pay it forward. That's all I did was just pay it forward. Simple. If we had more people like that, it would work. I mean, obviously my biggest issue with running a business was I didn't realize that money is the blood of a business. That is it. I hated talking about money. I hated it because it was always taboo. It was always like, you don't talk about money at all. But then I've realized the only way that this company can grow is with money. The only way we can affect change is with money. We have some very loyal customers who've been with us from the beginning. I'm talking 2 years of memberships. And I can't thank them enough because they're able to, us being able to donate $1 million in training is because of them. Us being able to donate to Deliver Fund is because they buy the products. Like, that's it. It has nothing to do with that. And that's what's kind of made me realize where it's not taboo. It's if you want change, this is the way you do it. And so if my product can bring you a service and you like our product, then please invest. It's an investment. Your fitness and health and wellness is an investment. So that's how we look at it. It's not just like, oh man, I'm going to buy these new shoes. Man, they're going to walk so good. Like, no, we're here to provide you a service where you can actually talk to a human and make yourself better. Because as we say, your fitness is the foundation of your survival. If you have a weak body, everything else will probably crumble underneath that foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on a 10 by 10 concrete slab. It needs to be reinforced with rebar. It needs to be reinforced with different types of concrete. It needs to be prepped. And when you have that, then you can build a skyscraper. And that can entail, Lord knows what other disciplines on top of that foundation, but you yourself, your body, your mind need to be the foundation. If you have a weak foundation, good luck.
Not only are you humble, you are wise, and you are bringing some. Yeah, I try to be, and you try to bring this. Like, do you even understand the irony behind the position that you're in right now? Like, you growing up, you probably had this dream, much like all law enforcement individuals do, where you just want to serve your community. You just want to make the world a better place. You become a serviceman. And then now all of a sudden you finally gain the platform that you were always destined to have, which was only going to be achieved by going through some of the more difficult times as a young police officer and then getting into the space that you're in.
Yeah. I mean,
the irony is,
it's crazy. I originally wanted to be in the medical field. I love medicine. I wanted to be a nurse anesthetist. I went to school to be, and I went to college to be an RN. And then I realized I am not good at biology. But I wanted to serve. I wanted to always help people. And the next way was either become a paramedic, which no. Love paramedics. Your freaking profession is I could never do it, but hats off. I'll be a police officer. Badge, gun, drive fast, stop crime. It's a dream. You get into it. I was all about it. I firmly believe you don't know what the hell you're doing until like the first 3 years. After about 3 years, I feel like you've had a solid taste. I only spent 7 years in. I know my lane. I know my place. I know my experience. But I saw enough. I felt enough to know that if I stayed any longer, that it wasn't going to be good. And believe it or not, my captain and my lieutenant, who are some of the most supportive men I've ever met in my life, told me I was making the right decision. That's when I knew. They're like, you need to get the fuck out of here.
That might be another conversation for another time, Adam.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down, dude.
Yeah.
Anytime.
So I'm going to leave it off on this note. I am completely offended as a Canadian that you are not up here banging your drum on our side with all of our Canadian things like moose and maple syrup in our beavers. So please come join us one day up in Canada and please make this a household name of what you're doing up here.
I will. And we'll definitely be in touch, guys. Nate, thank you so much for your time, man. We'll definitely do it again. We can definitely have conversations, man. This was a phenomenal podcast. You're doing a great job. You're a really good host, by the way. I'm still working on it, man. This whole podcast game to me still very new. Isaac helps. But it's man, you got it down to a science, homie. I'm just here trying to catch up.
For everybody listening today, this is Adam Haidary. You are going to want to continue to watch what he is doing every single step of the way. Check out his product, follow him on social media. I'm going to make sure you are easily connected to him in this space. And we are actually going to do our damnedest to help support you up here in Canada. You have my word on that. Thank you for your time, Adam. I know you're an incredibly busy human being, and I don't take offense to the fact that you're not good at podcasting, even though I think you are. But you have much bigger fish to fry, my friend. So keep on with this journey, and I can't wait to continue to see not only what you do but support you. So much love, guys. This is Adam. Please check him out. Thank you for joining us on season 2. If you are a first responder with an incredible story into post-traumatic stress, please reach out and connect with myself. Season 2 is based on your story. And if you want to step up to the plate and share your story with the world, I would be more than honored to help you do that. Thank you for your continued support with this project, and thank you for tuning in today.